Baggage. It's all I brought with me, not the patterned suitcase set I bookmarked or the floral duffel you would bring when we stayed at the cottage. This, accumulating inside of me, following me around like shadow. I am looking for a place to put it down. The steps are crying under all the weight. Don't you hear them? You tell me I can do that here. Put it down. You say, I should start a garden, make some art, read my books. You say, home sweet home. I don't believe it. Haven't known a home that doesn't leave me. Haven't known a home that doesn't give me more to carry. Yet here you are, hopeful-handed, taking my baggage from me and putting it down in every room. Home sweet home to the sound of every creak.
Little cleaning, little ritual, little excess, little stress, little calm, calling every task little until it becomes large. Undervaluing my work, I have no audience, only the crawl of time and the presence of life making it all worse. Not worse, no, sorry, but messy. Dust and hair and things that can only be called things flung about and clamoring for my attention. I think of how we think of building. Structure, blueprint, skeleton, brick, stone, glass, contractor, drill, truck, ever upward, and not of what building is. Carefully placing one piece upon another, one moment collapsing into the next, until all that this is and you are and we welcome is a place that collects us and holds us close. A house that cannot be anything but a home.
How do you learn to cook out of love? Here in our kitchen, the oven is warm, cats at our feet. The fridge sings to us, the kettle, chorus. I want to nourish you with more than this body can offer, give you something you can sink your teeth into, chew, swallow, savor. Want to render you delighted, 3-course meal, each season to keep you here with me. You love eggs? I make eggs. You love carrot cake? I make carrot cake. I burn it all. You eat it all. Like most things, it is all learned through practice.
Evening, and the kitchen table set, the light arranged by the candles, the window opened by 2 fingers to let out the steam. There are birds out in the dusk, singing about the day. We speak in bowls passed and forks clattering and ice in glasses clinking. Some days give, often they take, and on the table we try to revive this one. I put mint leaves on the cuts of meat and a few in the salad. There is lemon juice in a creamer and sauce in a boat. There is a map of all our efforts set out in front of us. From the thrift store years ago for the plates, to the lamb a day ago from the butcher, to the mint coaxed from the garden, greens from the girl and her grandma down the road, creamer from your mother's old tea set, gravy boat from the big garbage day. All of us extended and brought together again here at the table. The candles arrange the light, the birds out in the dusk singing, the way we talk with what we share. Pushing back curtains, letting in the light. Morning shining all over the room, changing the colors, touching the corners. Something, the science of sunlight, what it does to what it touches, the radiation, the warmth, the love. There is intimacy in the way it graces everything with knowing how exactly to make room for shadows, all the plants in the room turning to face it. It can't be looked at directly. It's okay. I can fill a room with it. I can turn to face it too. Right now, it's reaching for you, flowing like water, cascading up onto the bed, over the quilt, into your hair. It knows where to go. Settling on the little landscape of your eyelids, waiting patiently for you to open them and see how it has entered the room and changed it.
Do all ghosts live in attics? I imagine them floating up from baseboards to crawl around the rafters. We find a shoebox. I imagine our cat that is now a flower bed. The side is sunken. It has stood in the way of our current problem. A leak dropping down onto our bed. I'm scared to open it, but you have brave hands. Where I imagine wisps of ectoplasm and a scream, there is just a lifted lid and dust. The sound of settling. The box holds letters, photographs, postcards, other ghosts. Here are people just like us. I bend with the weight of knowing we have always lived here. No matter a time, no matter what we were told, we existed, laughed, held cameras, loved, dark-skinned and shape-shifted one or another, or both. Once upon a time, there lived a couple in a house. They scattered their matter in every room, carved their heights into door frames, and scratched the floors when they danced. They built a home. We are living under the foundation of those before us, the skeletal structure, this house, our bodies. We are building something new from what we were given, something bigger, something ours. Hallway is a time lapse. Bodies through light in parallel blurs, come together, pause, pass into, come apart. Press against the wall, hand hold the doorway, intimacy in small gestures. Shuffled movement, tired and tentative two-step, silhouettes floating in and out of frame. We, the blood flowing into this home body.
The garden can't fit all the clouds today. So shaded are we, the chill seeps in, making me want to shut the windows. I don't. Not all of them. I keep a few open. We need the fresh air. I think of you in your windowless studio in a labyrinth of boxes. I peel a sheet of parchment paper, press it up to the window, and peer through the model. To trace the clouds is a challenge. One moment they are, and the next they change. The outlines become lines, become overlapped. The clouds are an experiment in existence. I slide the sheet under the studio door. I can bring the world in. I can make it all fit.
Caution in the face of misfortune. I stare at the handle as the vehicle speeds impossibly along the highway. Open the door, feel the air, grip you, suck you out, objects in this capsule flying, scattering on the roadside, or into oblivion. We take a curve. My gut spoons into the sublime and the wide chasm comes into view, penciled-in river far down, beyond the evergreen spear points and cliff. Imagine, adjust the trajectory infinitesimally. Now you're weightless over space, plummeting, the car blown into fractions. She yawns, lifts her half-clasped hands above her head, bent slightly at the elbow, to stretch in the passenger seat after hours of stillness. What would it be like? In a flush of heat, snapshot of clasped hands secured above her head, back arching, snapshot of licking naked skin, a breast, a growl I can feel in my throat. I can taste her. I close my eyes tightly. What does death feel like? See auras against the inside of my eyelids. Feel auras fluttering against my pelvis. Hear auras stammering against my heartbeat. Rake my nails across my skin to banish them. Imagine my horror. Blood flooding from the scratch. The Venus download. What is the heart but the curl of your cursive? The cut of my chicken scratch, this curve like middle distance, something bending into nothing. Iridescence, hummingbird dizzy, unlikely, unwieldy, light vanished, or vanishing. And desire like a lump of decrystallizing flesh, form, sublimating form. Little bird, did you think this flesh was a flower, these bones hollow and filled with nectar? She cracks desire like a nut, and eats the meat. What would it be like to fly that distance? I become the apocalypse again. I become the Messiah again, and my doubting Thomas beats my limbs and hands and face and limbs and hands and face and breaks a rib, and me, I feel no pain. I think, and your body becomes godly, and your body becomes godly, and your body becomes godly. And I don't know who taught me to do it, but my body becomes godly. And every muscle remains loose and sweet, sweeter than your face in my hands, sweeter than your mouth under this fist. And you crack this bone and eat the marrow and grin the blood. And deep within this bloody, holy shell, I am exuberant. I am unstoppable. I am released by the wounds visited upon me. I am held by the knife as it cuts. I am held. And think, anybody could be godly, if only I taught them the trick. It's God's own trick of the light. You lie half awake in the dark thinking, God, I want her. There's something sick about it. You think about licking her lips, sneaking your tongue along her straight white teeth, stealing an invisible promise from her mouth. It tastes like honey and iron. On the flip side, you have no right to think of her as a god thinks daylight into being, a brilliant wink radiating through the ozone hole, laser-hot trick of thought contorting cells into their own shadows. You think about peeling the edges of her burnt skin, being first to see her raw under thin shell, the swell of red shoulder. Did Persephone ever think to fuck Athena, lay her clean and wise across a tableau of death, paint her black shadow, her irradiated imprint on the curve of some clay vessel, her love some shattered terracotta? You lie awake, sinking into sticks, warm current closing over nose and lips, breathe in the elixir of her scent. You imagine drinking from her lips, tracing the pattern of a tremor within her, a fault line earth shudders beneath, splitting her with your tongue. God, I want her. There's some trick about it. On the flip side, you lie awake in the light, the ceiling white above, your mouth dry and empty, a breath of honey on your breath. Like ash, like tragedy. When we say lizard brain, what we really mean is lizard gut, lizard arms, lizard scream. What we really mean is the scrape of a fly's wing contra tongue, the smell of it. When we say lizard brain, we mean sharp, hot ache. We mean split second. We mean combustion. We mean blame for the surge of guilt that follows. The lizard is the oldest part of the brain, not quite as vestigial as we'd like. It wants what it wants. It is in charge of fight, flight, feeding, fear, freezing up, and fornication. What we mean is what we try to stifle. Inexplicable, id, love and destruction. Every epic Aphrodite engineered, the good stuff, saccharine, tragic. My ego, what do you want from her? I just want. What I mean is fracture, the magnitude of an earthquake. I mean toes curled on the edge of a diving board, a window ledge. I mean a furtive glance at her hip, eyelash, auricle. What I mean is the fault line between desire and dream, the seam over the emptiness that stretches, pitch dark to molten core, tunneled by reptilian want, the heat of it, the waft of sulfur. How can I unlock. I've quit smoking, I tell the ghost, who laughs at me, still sitting on the balcony like there's anything to do. I can hardly see her in the sunlight. I can hardly see myself. Every beautiful day reeks of possibility, she says, or else of worse to come. We sit together, companionable, thinking about beautiful possibility, thinking about worse. The girls in the garden below empty their red wheelbarrow and leave it in the yard, where it yawns at me, one empty red thing to another, oxygen red plastic exactly matched to the tomato pots next door, Crayola cherry blood red, tucked 2 houses over as if a prayer for sun. The girls in the garden can't see these pots, of course, only us. We see everything from here, except happiness. Is it lost somewhere in the marigolds, the topiary, the brick mahogany ochre of the dirt below? Another red winks at us, the ghost points out. The watchful eyes of vermilion blossoms. Begonias, she says, are watchdogs. They warn against danger, advise caution in the face of misfortune. I look at all that red. Even from here, I can see some strange prophecy winking between their petals, like the heart of a ruby or else a cigarette. That undeniable incendiary glow, which begs me to let myself be swallowed.
If you have emerged from the storm of harms the world can be with a desire still to be broken, Notre Dame still smoldering, the rub of time will launder from the earth our very justified trespass and snappy syntax, 2.5 million scientists driven from their homes in bright green Packards. Our concern here is not with the past, that toilet entanglement that is imagination's principal occupation. Our concern here is not the correct narrative of the undaunted stain of lilac. Our concern is not history's little supplication to oblivion. Our concern is not the glacial weight of supermarkets in the city's millipede emptied of bodies and beef. Our concern is the quiet of piano hammers in the rain, brooches lifted from the land's basket of lost tongues. Our concern here is swaddled areas, as violet skies as millennium gone nova, all of language as translation, too brittle, too sensual, too sacred, too 6 feet of seeming too negligible, all of language a high-volt flashlight slivering the moon.
Not every creature evolves camouflage, she says. Some of them see right through you. A pupil pulls taut. He was another boy with a fish.
Slide over me like moss, like stillness. Before I realize, I rearrange my body. I bend. Listen. I repeat the dragonfly's dance. Blood condenses. I feel you shifting and the earth settling, and I rise and you excavate my stories. Alien, do you hear darkness? Do you hear skin glowing amber? Leaves in the engines? Do you hear the faint smell of history in the corridor, carved in walnut? Do you? Do you hear the anarchist in the engines? The anarchist draws in stillness. It means safe, lock and key, means a pillow braced over my head for comprehension. I repeat the steps in hidden chambers, dance, slide, passage. I listen very carefully. The toll of my quiet expands, emptiness expands as I put my shoes away. Dream of revolution wrought in iron. I watch you slide over me, hang still, my heart can't breathe.
Rain teeters at the edge. In these spaces, cracks like breeze that breaks thorns off where I lie. Yellow flowers upon the trail of others roll down slowly. Corners learning to push, to witness. Teardrops.
The sheathing on my nerves, unweaving around me. The collective latitudes where sunlight is less afterimage of light. The brain one down and under, the scratch wounds, when they mistook his knuckles with your ice cheeks. There are days when my body trips me just to make me lie. First, logic following fall, your own, fault, your own, fault, your own body function. This is not patience of being, your own sundering from my soul.
The problem with me, you said, is settling for my permanent repeating pattern of difficulty. Like snakeskin, you said. No instinct, I didn't know survival as a grown woman. What you meant is the problem is reptilian. Women turn to dogs. In their throats, women suited for the keeping.
My neighbor thinks winter's having an identity crisis, an accident unprecedented. Yet here I am, sitting window-side in the cross-legged hours to come. I stare at the clock and past midnight, hues of neon electricity galloping on, transmission towers aloft. Maybe I understand, but there's nothing I can do. Maybe I understand, but words are outdated, heavy with withheld proclamations, an echo of an echo of an echo. Maybe there's no reason to raise your voice. All anxieties tranquilized, almost floating, sit here a while and ache for a zen-thawed recollection of childhood. It's been another one of those days, every day for months, stepping on dead flowers to browse discarded Christmas trees, a void midnight-hued. The end's a dreadful thought, the one that's hard to pronounce, hovering midway between shoulda never and coulda once. It's the banality of goodbye covering a sinkhole.
The snow, slow, formless, night city drifter. Heart-beaten hum, clock, trigger, the formless body. The snow, slow as composure, a city, bare. The soundscape that is muffled by the fluff. The infant's cry, quick composure, sound sunken, cloud heavy. The snow, right before the show, a quick cigarette, guitars tuning. The snow, slow. Alongside the bedridden lovers flood like pollen.
Action at a distance is what Kepler called it. The way the sun's light, invisible in the space between, illuminates the face of some distant thing. It appears in the lamina dividing sea, sky, and salt water spray, the surface area of sunlight, spectral in a water droplet, suspended above a shore that sometimes water, sometimes land, holds an ocean's limit in its weathered hand. There on the sand, I trace your fingers, read the wrinkles in your palm, remember how I used to believe wind was made by trees swaying. I trace too the queer shape of your ear. Excess flesh evolved to guide sound waves in, to sound a tiny timpani of skin, to rattle little bones inside. And then you stand and run out into the waves and dive and swimming divide my sense of you in two. Sight and sound are split. I see you speak and wait for words. further and further until, seeing your joyful mouth wide, I hear only the deep waves rise and break, spilling all their sunlight on the shore.
Let us follow ghosts. What would I be if I left unfixed, where body is all to protest with? If I buy into their magical thinking, I don't mourn. Reason is pain. The next hour spent enduring myself's need to be fixed. Could you believe? I was once sweet. I am stuck in to rot into white sea, an ocean of bones, of fire, of glass, another slobbering promise. Beneath the surface drowns an unbroken history, stacked like small, fragile birds, pain that flees the word pain. When I say I burned this pain like a person broken open, I wasn't there. I cradle old gods like stones, swans, sycamores. My inheritance is strangled. Unbearable burden of being anchored to a past oracling ghosts. Let me be free of all the moments I grieve. Let me be here without apology. Live a little less chimerical, unloved. Every last inch of me, gold.
All absolute mathematics curtails within a room, our ceiling defining movements as a world. We broke the upper limit and flew. Nothing stops a small craft in high velocity. Chalked out quadratics while you held my free hand to your mouth, and then my mouth, and then not just the infinite expanse of space with you, but time, endless seconds of your, no, our moments unspent. And then, as we scratched the first new equation into a kiss.
First morning in orbit, I brought you coffee, and we snuggled under a solar blanket, watched its gentle lean around the planet's curve. Imagine our wings clipped, thousands of years, unable to see where we were going, where we'd been. Star to earth to moon to us. The light dipped its lips to the forehead of the land, and I followed, planting kisses in your hair for orbital cultivation. All the signposts in every equation, all the light in your name. The filtered ultraviolet caught me thinking of flavors like grapefruit and hibiscus and orange blossom and hops, of a time when the earth grew anything but grief.
Light years from here, another planet awaited inhabitants. Oh, but to disentangle the Earth's psychic hold, where my hand touched yours for the 5th time. Yes, darling, I heard the stars. But what about your dirt scent? Tell past me about the ruptured and scorched surface you'll take me from. The budding hibiscus plant will leave. Whatever sentimentality, becoming an empty beer can, in our gardens that, every year, will bloom love. Under the blanket, I wondered softly if anything could mean as much as the ache of memory hurtling in on us. The weight of your hand, such tender light in the world we knew. Against the ruins, a star fizzled, as if to say, "You've witnessed the loss of this world."
Warp speed. The gem blue shell around us, and not a soul between stars but us in the black. What whispers along distances lost to space? What can be inferred or not inferred in the gaps between words? We, the only messengers, carrying missives from civilizations or empires, families, dynasties, gasping to anyone that receives. We were dreamers and solvers and lovers, and we tried. Please do not forget us. You and I hold these echoes to our hull as we hold each other, gripped by gravity in the greenhouse among the sprouts shooting like solar flares. This and other duties, ever at the cusp of swallowing us, their immensity.
Slow to impulse. Second morning spent in the greenhouse of the ship. We watered the antidote to hate, surrounded by the blank span of lingering. And in your presence, I could pretend there was still some not broken. The rest we rebuilt into love and grander things.
When we meet on Earth, there isn't much left. Now, of course, even less. Sad cinders, standing water. It can scarcely sustain an insect hum, which is a music we miss. We kiss and whisper fears down in the purple dark. The smog, thick as furs, drags down the sun to its knees. Someone plays the No Future Dust Bowl blues. That's most of what I'll remember, not who was there, or where we stayed, or at what hour we had breakfast while listening to your favorite album. I won't remember the hands red from dishes, just a kiss as hopeful as green shoots in grimy soil, just a family of roots that travels from a sick planet to a vast field of stars. Just you, just me.
At our current speed, it would take 2 weeks, 4 days, and 6 hours to reach our first destination. As we charted our plan, hand in hand, we pictured a planet orbited by twin moons, an empty world covered only in sweet water. We'd ride the waves, tumbling and kissing in the shallows. Our mirrored shocks at washing up on the world's single island, at the dinner table already laid out. Of all our theories on this island with no life signs, we thought most of the moons above us as guardians, those watchful spheres.
A planetary scan collates, glimpses our new home. So this is how the first human took in the Earth. This view as big as possibility, a running and diving of love to map and forget and relearn. To explore is to fall in love prolifically, intrepidly, cheek to cheek like all lovers before. To suspend hope in frozen bodies, to propel us, falling through space, last hope of our race to this new chance. Lakes like glass portent our futures against the moons. Trees shaking in the breeze, a plurality of pollens. Fields with no bones, where we lie looking for our old sun in new stars.
Light years from where we began, the light still rises in your hair every morning. Sea air salts us with a film of stars. Which was more real than the others? to love into tomorrow our love of today. To stare back at the path on which we came, or to turn with the planet, face the opposite way. Even interplanetary lovers get homesick. A bruise today can heal from fog to mist, to a dust that will, tenderly brushed away, stop hurting, cease to be.
Night falls, finds you breathing lightly into my chest. Above, a curtain of alien stars, a wind carrying unfamiliar scent slowly settling into our clothes. Soon, we'll forget the terrible noise of a dying world, learn the music of this one, each movement a new genus, every leitmotif unfolding. Hold in our hands a family of crops, taller each day, water sweet as the future, marvelous shrinking scars.